So this is Mikael Yang. I don't have a whole lot to ask, but I think you'll talk a lot about what you're doing, but I guess my question would be for the people here, maybe some of the stuff you told me today about what's coming in Messenger, like the future of Messenger and why it's amazing for what we're doing for a living.
Like, I think when we were talking about Messenger, like a lot of the time we were talking about, hey, like this is a new channel of communication. 2 billion people use messengers every month, and you can look at like yourselves how you use these channels. But I feel like preaching to the choir, because you guys obviously know how fast and how evolving all of this is. One of the things that I think that not a lot of people realize is that, first of all, how early we are in this transition. So it's like there's 120 million SMBs in the world. There is about 400 million individual contractors, consultants who are basically not SMBs, not employers, but still businesses who would use messengers as a customer communication channel. So that's about half a billion business accounts that potentially would need to use messengers to connect with billions of customers. And all of those businesses either will need marketers or agencies to be successful in this channel. And if you take all of that and you, right now, like we have over 400,000 Facebook pages connected to the platform. So 400,000 like seems like a lot, or like a big number at least. But if you take into account like the grand scheme of things, like let's say 400 million, the total amount of business pages, that's like, what is it? That's like less than 0.1%. So that's and now out of those 400,000, and out of that 0.1%, the amount of value that people are getting from this, like those 400,000 are not actually getting the like 90% of them are not like actually leveraging correctly. Like I've just been walking through MATLab's bot.
Uh-oh, I'm scared.
I was actually going through your bot, and I did do the thing. I'm going to show it to you. Like I spent an hour going through your bot just now, because I don't know, I was so wasted after the conference. I just needed some to do some meditation, and I was just like dragging around your stuff, and I can show you the video.
Yeah.
So, and it's I think it looks fine now. So. But like people, like out of those 400,000, like you and a couple of other people like are actually doing it on a really like advanced level and a really high level. Most of those people are either not doing anything, they just connected the page, or they're doing like super basic stuff. So if I had to now, the amount of value that you can get, like it's not like either you're using messenger marketing or you're not using messenger marketing. It's like, okay, you started using messenger marketing, but how far along the journey of actually implementing it into your business and leveraging it to get business results are you? And like it's a gradient, like from basically I just connected my page to ManyChat to I've like created all these flows, all these growth tools, and I have traffic going into my sources. I have automation, and I have actual sales going, and etc. So I would say that most of the people are leveraging right now the messenger marketing at about, I would say like 5% of what it's capable of, or like 10% of what it's capable of.
I can see that.
So that takes the market, the value penetration of the current situation from 0.1% to 0.01%. So now we get to a number where 99.99% of the value is going to be delivered in the future. Like we are in the 0.01% of value delivered. So I think it's a beautiful future. Like,
it's unbelievable.
like you are right now in that 0.01%, and that's gonna make, I think, everybody who is in this market early, this wave is just going to lift you into like, because you know, like more than anybody else, like in the market, and everybody else will like, hey, how do I do this? And we'll have to learn. And it's not only about how do I do this, but like what actually works. And to understand what actually works, you have to be there practicing it and actually getting your results and getting those experiments running, because it's a really tricky and intricate tool. So
What resonates with me is that I started my marketing career in 1999, and that was when email was the thing. I mean, people were excited to get an email versus angry. And I've told this story before, and it still cracks me up because I look at it now, and it's where we're at with Messenger. We had a boat and RV dealership that we had started from scratch, and we ended up growing in 3 years, like up to $15 million in sales annually, which was huge for that business. And it was all because of how we used digital marketing before anybody else. And in 1999, we had built up an email list. We started our boat dealership online. So we didn't actually have a store, it was online. And I sent out 1,000 emails. We went to an RV show and a boat show. We got a bunch of people to sign up. And we were early on back then because dealers didn't have websites, better yet get emails. And so we had sent an email to 1,000 people. And I'll never forget because like 600 responded. And I'm sitting there like, oh. They're like, hey, do you have this color? Do you have this model? Do you have? And I had to personally respond to all of those. And I tell this a lot to people because they say, hey, are we late with the Messenger? There's so many agencies out there. I'm like, guys, we think there's agencies because we talk to each other. There's none of us. We're so minuscule. And then Messenger, like, it takes me back to what email was 20, 25 years ago.
yeah.
But even cooler, back then, I couldn't tag and condition and say, hey, because this female came in and told us she had kids and she was married and she visited the restaurant and she spent $20, not $10, send her this to me, it's just mind-boggling what we can do probably that we're not doing and that we'll be able to do in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, it's as I was mentioning, Messenger, given the fact that we get such high engagement rates, every action of a customer inside Messenger is them telling us a story about themselves, making a choice, do you like this or that, do you want this or that? And if you use that properly, it allows you to send highly targeted and super relevant messages to that person. I was just also looking through the bot of Matt Light's bot, and like he has like 1,000 different flows, and like because he is like so crazy about like these conditions and all of this stuff. He like one of the things that he does is that whenever you talk to the bot, it never responds with the same message. Like he conditions like, hey, did they get this message? If yes, then it switches to another message. Like it's like crazy stuff. But totally, I don't know how he manages like to keep track of all of that. For me, it's insane. But what it shows is that the amount of data that you get to actually talk about the stuff that specific person wants to talk about is like, I don't see another channel. Like all the other channels, it's like you're talking to a wall. Like there is this portrait of a gray customer, like you know the customer emoji, like a person with a head. Like this is a customer, and you're like sending a message to the customer, and the customer like might respond, might not respond. Like there is nothing that you know about. And on Messenger, it's like it's not a customer. It's like this thousand of individuals, and like very specifically, and you can target those messages very specifically. So I think that's a very important thing that messengers can help us do. And the other thing that you've mentioned, I'm going to come back to it later.
No, okay. So something I noticed recently, because I still consider myself really poor at using Messenger, and I was noticing one thing I've done, because the Matt Platt page. Okay.
I wanted to.
He's got something because it's poor now.
Yeah. One thing that I wanted to mention is that you said that you feel like you're 20 years ago, like email is starting. It's true that like right now, I think right now is it's a very great time to start a business or to reignite growth or accelerate growth inside like your agency or your consultancy or your business, because there is a switch in the way people communicate, a very fundamental switch. Like there has not been a lot of fundamental shifts in the way people communicate. Like we went from like back in the time, we went from like speech to like the first electronic means of communication was the telegraph, when you would like do the thing. And then we went to phones, then we went to radio, then we went to like all the other stuff. And at some point we got the phones, and we got connected. Like we could call each other everywhere we were. And SMS was a thing, and still is a thing. So you could text each other everywhere you go, you can text. But then the smartphones changed everything again. They glued us to the smartphone. Like when you remember those phones, when like the dumb phones, like when you had the dumb phone, you didn't like stare at that thing for 6 hours a day. No. Like there was nothing to do for 6 hours a day there. Like maybe like somebody was playing like Snake on the Nokia phone. Or you remember the other one with the blocks where you were building the no, not the Tetris.
There's one similar, usually, yeah.
The one that on the Nokia, like there was like a, anyway, like you were
where you bounce the ball against the block.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That one, and also the tower. But anyway, like nobody was doing that. Like you used it and you put it away.
It's like a microwave.
Yeah.
You put food in the microwave, you make it, you go.
It's utility. But now it's like we spend on our mobile phones like 4 to 6 hours a day. Like you can all go to your phones, and on iPhone there's screen time, and you can check out how much time you're spending on it, and it's crazy. And it's 80-90% of people open their phone within an hour of waking up and within an hour of going to sleep. So it's like, that's it. That's a part of you now. That's a part of your, like people are saying like, hey, I don't want to, I don't want the future. I don't want the robots. I don't want to merge with machines, etc. You already merged with machines. Like try and live without your phone for a while. It's your memory, it's your knowledge, it's your way of communication with your friends and family. It's the way you connect. Like it's an integral now part of your identity and your life. So that's happened, and that's why the mobile is the most important device. Like people were talking about the computer and PC revolution, etc. PC revolution is dwarfed by the mobile revolution, because the mobile phone is the thing that's like made computing personal and made it like a part of you. And with mobile internet and with messengers, now we're in the first position where businesses can have asynchronous access through text to like all of their customers at any point in time. But there is also a payment for that, because customers now get the ability to unsubscribe from any business at any point and not hear from you, because now it's a much more sustainable relationship. Like if you spam somebody, or like if you talk about irrelevant things, people just delete that conversation and you cannot get it back. Like it's not like email where you can like re-add them or something. So that's that. I think people don't get the gravity of the situation. I think that people think about, oh, it's a new channel, like it's something that's like gonna be here and it's gonna be fun for a while, and then like I don't know like how long it will, like everything changes in the world. The only thing that is constant is change. But what I can say that the messaging and the ecosystem around messengers, whatever it may be, WhatsApp, Instagram, iMessage, Facebook Messenger, it's gonna be 10 times bigger than email marketing. Oh, yeah. It's gonna be, because it's not about just email, like it's not about marketing. It's about the building relationships with their customers. It's a permanent thread of communication between a business and a customer. And more importantly, it also has transactions inside of it. Facebook has its payment systems, and you can integrate directly with Stripe or PayPal. So this thing now is the way you communicate, is the way you get customers, is the way you nurture customers, is the way you do sales, is the way you actually fulfill the actual transaction and get money, is the way you get feedback, it's the way you do support, it's the way you do retargeting, and it's the way you upsell and cross-sell for future sales and retain customers. So this whole thing becomes the way you do business, especially for SMBs. And it's going to be huge. And like even right now, if you think about it, it's just Messenger right now. And then it's going to be WhatsApp, and then it's going to be Instagram. Instagram right now, not a lot of people know this. First of all, Instagram, people think of Instagram as a social media network. Instagram is the 6th biggest messenger in the world. Wow. In terms of direct messages. Wow. So like it's, and being a social media, like everybody knows how effective Instagram posts like storefront are. Like people subscribe to business accounts to look at their basically ads, not ads, but like displays, artful, delightful, beautiful displays of their products. So it's a fundamental change in how businesses and customers connect, and I think that creates a lot of opportunity to leverage that change, because whenever something changes and whenever rules of the game change and whenever platforms change, it's a time and it's a moment where those who want to learn the more, who want to experiment the most, who want to risk the most, and who want to always be working and hustling and like trying to understand how this all can get ahead because they understand better. They invested more of their time, energy, focus, and creativity to understand how this new thing works, and that's why they get better results.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's two things on that. I saw one, this was like 2 weeks ago, one of the groups where a guy was amazed at how bad his opt-outs were in Messenger. And then somebody said, well, what are you sending? And he's like, well, I'm sending 3 messages a day, 7 days a week, and here's why. And we're like, dude, if my wife sent me 3 messages a day, 7 days, I'd probably unsubscribe. But, yeah, sorry, honey, if you're watching this. But one thing like I've noticed, like the page you have access to that you were looking at, trying to show us later, I've taken it slow with how I've used it because early on I started using it wrong. And one thing I've done differently, one of my coaches tells me I'm crazy how I'm doing it, but agencies, for example, when they come in for 4 or 5 different traffic sources, my only goal is to find out how long they've been in the business, how big they are, and what their biggest struggle is. I stop the flow there, and I hop in for 2 hours a day and send private voice messages and say, hey, I mean, who in here has gotten a message from me, a voice message? She's gotten one. And I look at it, because early on, I started trying to automate that, and I'm like, you know what? I want to find out what she needs help with. And why? I've got enough time that I can on a daily basis say, hey, I see that you say you're doing $3 to $5 grand a month in revenue. You've been in the business 2 years, and you're struggling getting organized with your agency. tell me what you're struggling with. And I'll literally go back and forth. And I mean, there's days I'll have 300 to 400 conversations, but I found early on, I thought I could automate that. And it's just, you mentioned it at the conference, that it's still a tool to help you start the conversation. It's not going to end it. Like if a restaurant like we have, we can do a lot of it automated. But in my situation, in a lot of businesses, like I've got a car dealer right now and an RV dealer. In the month of January, the RV dealer, 1,600 Messenger subscribers, 500 that openly gave us name, phone number, or email, phone number, what type of unit they have and what they're looking for. And so my client was like, oh, we just want to email them. I'm like, no, let's keep it in Messenger. Have your people log in when there's a notification. Tanya's been working with it, trying to massage those relationships and talk to them more on my team. And they're now seeing more traction because at some point you have to stop the automation and be a human.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly the reason why we were saying, and why we've actually not only said, but actually build a product for that, that it's not about the bot or the automation per se. Like automation is a useful tool and it's a useful instrument in some parts, in some types of businesses, in some parts of the user journey. But then manual conversations and actual human connection is also a very important part of like nurturing those relationships. So like that's why we actually we were like the first platform to combine. We started with marketing, like with messenger marketing, and then like half a year later, we've added live chat, an internal live chat right inside the platform, because we saw that, okay, so like you have, for example, a traffic source, you have lead qualification, or just like asking people about what their situation is, and then you can say like, okay, stop the automation, open this conversation and notify the admins so that they can go back into the live chat and like talk to the people about what they're having, what problem they're having. So yeah, I 100% support that.
So what's some of the, I guess, everybody here in this room is a small agency. What are some of the things you've seen that agencies are doing that you're like, wow, that's how I love how people are using Messenger, or that's what's really going to help this platform not become email? Because people like me and everybody in here helped ruin email. I mean, it is what it is. I've sent so many bad emails over the years because I didn't know how to use it, and now I look back and I'm like, wow, what we could have done. Moving forward, what are some things you've seen?
First of all, it's the architecture of the channel defines how it's going to be used. You cannot like influence like, hey, as an industry, let's decide not to send bad email. Like that doesn't work. There's always going to be some asshole who is like, or like who's the person who is just starting out and who doesn't understand how to do this properly. So it's you cannot stop something from becoming something, but I think that Facebook can stop it from becoming something because they can define the architecture in a way that basically makes it impossible to do certain types of behaviors. So I think it's and they're very protective of how people use Messenger and leverage Messenger. So I think that's not going to be a problem. In terms of inspirations of how people are using Messenger, I think the number one thing is that everybody who is trying to help a business be successful marketing should ask what that business's product is and like what is the end result that business delivers to the end user, and how marketing can help identify those who need that result and help them get there faster. So I think if you focus on making the end user of that business successful, that business is going to be successful, and that will make you a great agency. So and that's like the fundamental thing. I think a lot of people are really focused on like how to get traffic or how to get this and that, and I think it all starts with a product, like with a great product that actually delivers value, and then that product gets amplified by marketing.
And one thing I've seen that has really made me proud, because this is a new journey for me the past year and a half helping agencies is that like our community, the group we've got with about 240 or so people, a private group, seeing how they're using Messenger and how they're conversating. Like everybody in this room has had conversations at one point like, hey, here's something I did that worked. Here's something I'm doing that's not working. And the cool part about seeing like the back end of it and seeing the engagement, the opens. Like I have a message I send every week through email called Agency Fire. That's the top tips and tricks. Somebody asked me about a month ago why I quit sending it through Messenger every week. I said, because it wasn't getting engagement. It was going out to 800 people and only, 10% were engaging. To me, that's terrible. I've got to figure out how to make it right. And then one thing I did was I went back and looked. I was talking to one of the guys in the group, and he had posted something that got me thinking. And you look at these things, and you can look at like an example how they're using it. And I said, man, I saw something he really did. It was cool. So I went back and I went in there and looked and said, okay, give me every person that answered under 1 year in agency that has interacted with the bot in the last 7 days, and that there was one more variable. And then I sent the Agency Fire to them, and it was like 80% engagement. And so it's like, okay, somebody is at a certain level might not be interested in a tip. They might be interested in something different. But somebody that's a lower level that's brand new, they're looking. I mean, the people that are here, you're here because you're here to learn, right? And so finding these type of people, and you can find that based on seeing their interaction in the Messenger bot. So I think that was pretty cool. What's a question somebody's got?
That's cool. Mikael, at the Conversations conference in last September, was just amazing. One of the developments that was announced was that you may be integrating with iMessage.
Yeah.
And what I think is really exciting about this whole journey is that though Facebook Messenger has been the platform so far, I mean, obviously you had the vision that that just happened to be the platform, and this whole messenger marketing and conversational interaction is the bigger picture. So is that something still on the cards, like with iMessage?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
I
yes.
guess because obviously Facebook made the announcement that Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp are going to be integrating.
Yeah. They didn't. That's such a misunderstanding on the part of like the whole market. Like nobody made any announcement of combining anything.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was an internal leak. Like they were discussing something. And they thought about like, hey, let's think about this. And like it turned into this huge mess of like, Facebook announced that they're gonna integrate all the platforms and watch you in your bed and like and
Messenger is in that camera on the TV.
And it's just like it's not true. Like what actually happened, from my understanding, is that Mark mentioned it to some of the teams and like said, "Hey, let's think about this," and and teams were like, "Okay," and somebody like leaked it to the press, and press like just went crazy with it. So like nobody knows what's gonna happen. Like maybe they're gonna do this, maybe they're not gonna do this. Honestly, like we don't really care. Like we're as soon as Instagram and WhatsApp open up their APIs, we're gonna integrate either with their unified API or with their separate API. We don't care. Right. So it's gonna be just it's gonna be a part of ManyChat no matter what. And iMessage, you can expect that. Like you can basically every major messenger platform is going to be a part of ManyChat. And we believe that it's not about the channels, like the channel itself. It's about the business that has different channels of connecting with customers.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question along those lines, because this is maybe a dream in my head.
And that's finally going to justify the name ManyChat.
There you go. Lots of chats. So this is something I've thought in my mind, I've kind of visioned I could see it, but I don't know if it's even possible or if it's the future. But the one thing I look at that at least disturbs me a little about Messenger is that it's a conversation controlled by Facebook to some extent, which I think there's advantages, like you said, because they're going to keep the people who are doing the wrong stuff out. and make sure we stay in line. But it's like email. If I build a database of 10,000 email people in the next year, and I use that, email's not going away. Facebook, who knows? Let's say in 6 months, Facebook says, "Hey, we're gonna sell off to Procter & Gamble, and they're gonna use the data to sell diapers all over the world and be done," and it's gone. My question though is, do you see, or maybe is this a possibility in the future, that ManyChat is this hub of these people coming in from multiple places, and then ManyChat is sending out to them as ManyChat? That they become a subscriber of ManyChat, I guess, from WhatsApp or Instagram or iMessage.
Yeah, but still, we have to use the platform. Like,
Okay.
we don't have our own messenger. If we had our own messenger, like, we would be then in a position where we would be, okay, let's figure out how we make sure that businesses and customers connect, and like it doesn't ruin, and marketers don't ruin everything.
Yeah. So you'd be a referee.
So and that would be like a different conversation, but we don't have a messenger. So we've got to use some kind of a platform, some kind of a vehicle to deliver the message. And sometimes it's a platform that's controlled by, like, we were thinking about integrating with SMS. So like that's a open standard that's not controlled by anybody besides the government.
Yeah.
So regulated by.
And we can get a Facebook subscriber in, get their phone number attached to their name.
Yeah, yeah. And have you heard about Google's RCS? Who've heard about RCS? Like one person, a little bit. No, nobody has heard about RCS.
We're all stupid.
Okay, guys, you got to know this stuff. Like RCS is Rich Communication Services, and it's basically the Google's attempt to implement the next generation of SMS. And the reason that it's an attempt and not just a, hey, let's do this, is because in order to integrate a new standard, you have to basically convince every telco and every handset like manufacturer to like, hey guys, let's adopt this new thing. And it's like 80 or like over 100 of really big corporations that all have their agendas, and they're trying to like do it. And they're actually like, they're slowly moving. One of the problems is that for the past 5 years, Google said that this year they're going to enroll it, and it's been some time, but every year there is a positive movement into like getting more people on board, getting like major telecoms on board, and what basically this will do, like why are you mentioning this? So the reason I'm mentioning this is that it will turn SMS into a messenger. Like it will basically into a messenger-like experience. You will be able to send images, videos, GIFs, buttons, quick replies, previews, links. The accounts will be verified and with a business name and a profile picture. It's not going to be like a random number that sends you a message. It's going to be like, hey, Matt Plapp has sent you a message, like with a fist that's punching you in the face. So it's going to be, so once Google does that, that actually creates a lot of new opportunity to connect and be like in a position like email.
Yeah.
Honestly, because if you have the email, if you have the phone number, you can send the you can continue the rich communication conversation. So the RCS conversation. So yeah, I'm really like, and I don't think that like something might go wrong, but I think like maybe okay if it takes another year or so. Like I don't really care. Like if it's gonna be like a 1 or 2 years, we're here. Like ManyChat's, the way that we look at things, like our, like we were like, okay, in 10, 15 years, messengers are gonna eat every aspect of communication, and we as a company, we're just trying to build the best platform, the best technological solution for these problems on how to automate, how to like create templates, how to make it easy, and how to collaborate, et cetera, et cetera. So like RCS, like we hope that RCS is going to happen. If it takes another 1 or 2 years, so be it. And when it does, it's going to be another great channel to connect with customers alongside Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, iMessage, and other more niche players like Viber, Telegram, etc.
I mean, think about that too, because email, email, I still have emails that do really well.
Yeah, of course.
It's 20 years.
Yeah.
It's still a very viable medium.
It's a growing channel.
Yeah, 20 years ago, it was what I keep telling everybody. It's what Messenger is now, is what email was 20 years ago. It's very early. In 10 years with the smartphone and all the things you're talking about, I get a lot of agencies like, because there's a lot of people out there that are building a business like me. I started my agency 11 years ago. I didn't start it for next year. Like I didn't invest in this house to do this mastermind for tomorrow. I did it for next year after that. It's the same thing with messengers. A lot of businesses are short term on their thinking. Whereas again, look at Messenger. This isn't what you're doing now. In 5 years, I can see the conversations in 5, 6, 7 years that you're able to do what Netflix does. I go to Netflix. Now mine's a little jacked up because my daughter and wife and son all get in there and watch on the wrong accounts, and so I've got weird things on mine. But you get in Spotify on my phone and I look, and because I listen to Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good, I get the next message. I get a song just like it because these 10 people listen to that Joe Walsh song, I'm gonna listen to this one, and it improves the experience based on my usage, based on other people's. And I think that's what Messenger is really enabling us to do as businesses, because if you can have better, deeper conversations with your customers,
Yeah, exactly.
they're going to have better, deeper relationships with you.
Yeah.
I have a question. What kind of skills do you think a future bot builder needs? Because we can build very small and easy bots, but when you say we only use 5% of the possibilities of ManyChat, what should we?
I don't think that you're using 5%. I said the average.
You're using 95%, lady. If you've seen her gaming bot she builds, this lady's a genius. Like literally. Like
So-
besides the Belgium waffle, Belgium has produced L's, the bot builder.
No, because there's now dialogue flow and
Yeah.
that's
I think that first of all, I don't think that specifically like building more sophisticated bots automatically creates more value. I think value is created when a person in a business move further along their goals. So if the bot you've built can help the end user and the business move towards their goals, for the user it could be somehow connected with the product. It might be like buying the right product or getting the right help or something else that the user is looking for. And for the business, it could be increasing customer loyalty or customer satisfaction or making a sale or working up the lead. Like there's all these goals that these two entities have. If the bot can facilitate that, that's the value that you're bringing to the businesses. So if you can do that through like quick replies and buttons, etc., that's the way to go. Like if you think that and like you can see that how more sophisticated techniques can help you do that, by all means. Our job and our mission, like in terms of like ManyChat, is to make the most easy to use and configurable like software, so that you don't have to like go and acquire like crazy technical skills, so that you can, instead of like spending 10% on creating and 90% on like figuring the technical stuff out, like we aspire to have like that you spend 90% on the creative side of things and 10% like actually executing and implementing it. So I know we're not there, like we're like working every day to go there, but that's where we want to take it. And I think you as bot builders and agencies, like your main, right now a lot of you I think that your main thing is that you know the technical aspect, like hey, I figured out how to do this thing, how to configure this thing, and that's certainly true, But the next level is to really understand marketing and to really understand how, like, the tool is not by itself something that brings value. The tool allows you to express your ideas on how to execute those communication strategies. But who is going to come up with those communication strategies? Who is going to figure out the customer persona, how to talk to those customers, how to get those customers, how to structure those campaigns, and where to, like, all of those stuff. And those stuff don't depend on the channel. Like that stuff is it's the marketing fundamentals, and it's an endless sea of knowledge and experience that you can acquire. So I think knowing your stuff technically is certainly required, but then the next step is to figure out how marketing works. And that's a really broad statement, but I think you got what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge too, because I see it where I'm from in Cincinnati. It's home of Procter & Gamble. And I have a lot of friends that work at Procter & Gamble that are amazing marketing strategists, but implementation not so much.
Yeah.
And then I have a lot of us, I'll admit it myself, I think I'm pretty great at putting things in place. But I look back and I'm like, man, that was a terrible idea. That's not my forte. It's not my cup of tea. Like, I was just at ClickFunnels conference last week, and I found an idea for something, and I hired somebody else to do it because I have seen his work, and I said, this guy is a hell of a lot smarter than me at this. He'll make it better. And so I think we've got it's not always, like you said, the most complicated flow. It's sometimes the smartest flow.
Yeah.
I mean, I own a gym also, and it's amazing how many people come in and they want to try so many things. Well, one of our trainers, Dylan, is like the 7th or 8th most fit guy in the world in CrossFit out of a couple 100,000. He's a beast. He isn't taking supplements. He eats right, and he exercises, and he rests. It's like everybody tries to make it complicated. He's like, no, come in, work hard, eat right, rest. It's like me, I've got 10 supplements, and I'm thinking I'm biohacking my life, and I'm miles behind him. So it's the same in bot building as well.
Yeah, for sure. People confuse motion for progress.
I like that. That's a shirt, baby. People confuse motion for progress.
Kia ora tātou, which is g'day in my language. Just want to give you credit for listening to the ManyChat community. I think that's awesome, you guys taking the feedback from us in the ManyChat community, so I want to say thank you for that. But secondly, what challenges do you see kind of for ManyChat going into 2019, 2020 and beyond? What do you see as the biggest, I guess, threats or challenges as a business?
I think the main challenge is to actually solve the product the way that we have so many ideas on how to make ManyChat better, and it's like when we were like 3 people, we were like, okay, if we've got like 10 people, we could do everything. And then when we got 10 people, we were like, if we've got 20 people or like 30 people, maybe even 35, we could do everything. So now we're 60 people. And we were like, if we've got like 400 people, maybe we could do some of the stuff that we want to do. So, it's the biggest problem is that the timing of the market is limited. So the amount of things that you could do in that opening is limited. You can think of it as like having a limited number of bullets to hit a target and to like precisely nail down what the market needs and build that. So we have this limited amount of bullets, and the hardest thing is to decide what do we need to build next at this time, right now. because we know how the platform is going to look like in, I don't know, several years. Like, and basically, to describe it succinctly, it does everything. So, but the question is, you cannot, like, that's not a product strategy. Like, you have to, every week we have a sprint. We have weekly sprints. So every week we try to deliver some, like, some value to the market. And sometimes the releases are internal, so you don't see them. Sometimes they are external, and you see the posts in the community and the changelog posts. So every week we have to decide what's the next most important thing that we need to focus on right now. And then, like, we have quarterly goals and annual goals, and how do we actually go about that? So I think that's the main challenge. Like, will we be, like, right now, like being the, do you have any wood? No?
Yes.
Oh, I have this. So being the biggest platform, we can like say, okay, we've got it figured out. But you've heard, like, I feel like there is only 0.1, like 100th of a 100th% that of value that's been delivered. So what that means that 99.99% of the market that's going to happen, like in the next 10 years, is sure, like right now we're a big part of the market and we feel safe. But then every day that market is growing, and that growth, that's how do you, like a crack.
Yeah.
Like that's a crack.
Sliver.
That somebody can get in and do something. So what we've got to do is we have to, every week, every month, we have to reinvent ourselves, because you don't want to be the first player in the market. People say, like, hey, the first mover advantage. You don't want to be the first player in the market. You want to be the last player in the market. Like the last one standing. And that's a much harder job. Google wasn't the first search engine. Facebook wasn't the first social network. Amazon wasn't the first online store. Like, it's being first is great, but the question is how do you become the last one? That, because the way that the product is going to look like to deliver not to the early adopters, not to the innovators, but to the general market of, like, the majority of agencies, the majority of businesses, that's a drastically different product. And that's going to be a challenge for us. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You want to show us what you have?
I want to show you.
Want us to turn all the recordings off?
Yeah.
Okay, recordings off.